Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Roberts. Welcome to the March 28th edition of Effective, Efficient, Affordable, and above all, Accountable to You, the show that takes a good hard look at government here in Winstead and asks a simple question. Is this government by the people, of the people, for the people? Or is this government by the few, for the few, at the great expense of the people? Just asking. By way of reminder and in full disclosure, the views expressed on this show are those of myself, James Roberts. They do not reflect the views or position of the Winchester Board of Education or the Gilbert School Corp. This evening's program, we will spend most of our attention, predictably, on the budget, that budget that has been kept so very secret, and it is no surprising. It is truly a matter of adult viewing, ladies and gentlemen. This is not for the children in more ways than one. If there is time, we will also touch on the latest fun and games from the schools. But before we get there, a quick check card, a quick review, if you like, of where our current administration, our current supermajority 5 Democrat selectmen, have stood on the issues. We're 5 months into their administration, and it's worth revisiting, I think, what they have done for us. The first issue, 2009-10 audit. This, you will recall, was the audit that was 11 months late. The audit that revealed question costs in the amount of $636,000. The largest question costs in the history of the state of Connecticut. Question costs 10 times greater than any other faced by any town in the state ever. As we stand here at the end of March, beginning of April, there has been no resolution of that matter. We remain the target of investigation both on a federal and the state level. 2010-2011 audit. We are now approaching our 4th month of delinquency. This audit was due on December 31st, 2011. There is no end in sight. No hint as to the whereabouts of this audit. And without an audit, ladies and gentlemen, you just don't know where your money is being spent. Whether it is being spent well, whether it is being spent in a manner for which your government can be held accountable. Then there's the risk-based audit. This was the audit that was designed to investigate whether we had the procedures and controls in place to ensure that your money would be responsibly spent. No progress on the risk-based audit. Which brings us to the lawsuits. Board of Education still suing the town. No resolution, still ongoing, still costing us money, still making us a laughingstock. Then there's a lawsuit of the former town manager against the town. This is the one that involved allegations of his being too old or too Polish or too something else that was equally discriminatory to fulfill his duties. Still ongoing, still costing us money, still making us a laughingstock. Closing a school building, committed to in writing a year ago. School building still unclosed. The latest on this one, as you will recall, is that the school board now wants to build a new building. Now, it is important to note that Governor Malloy is currently touring the state touting educational reform. Nowhere has he suggested that new school buildings, will improve the state of our education. Governor Malloy seems to understand that school buildings do not take tests. Just takes the Winchester Board of Education and selected members of the Board of Selectmen to come to a similar realization. Combining the finance departments, town versus school. You voted for this overwhelmingly in the charter revision referendum. You wanted a single finance department under the control of the town so as we could get clear, accurate, timely information, responsible government. No progress. POCD, adopted over a year ago, still no progress in revising the planning and zoning regulations in accordance with the POCD. Just as the POCD took many years of nothing happening before finally it was accomplished. So we've gone through a year of nothing happening with no regs. And this is important, ladies and gentlemen. How can we expect to attract economic development to our town, new residents to our town, new investors to our town, if no one knows what the rules are? Capital products. Selectman Ronzullo promised us hand on heart. Within 6 months, we would be fully remediated. We would have a cafe, a brew pub, a restaurant, a bakery, a print shop. 5 months in, we got nothing. Nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Economic development generally. This is the reason we hired Dan Martin as town manager, the man from Michigan. It was said that if he could do economic development in Michigan, the worst state in the land, he could do it here in Connecticut. Again, almost April, and we got nothing. Nothing, that is, except for the Economic Development Commission, the Redevelopment Agency at loggerheads imploding, all under the gentle guiding hands of our mayor and town manager. The only thing we've accomplished in 5 months of this administration is the overturning of the wishes of the taxpayers at referendum, the trampling of the provisions of our charter, the emptying out of the fund balance, the defunding of the town, the cancellation of those 2 police cruisers that were in the last budget. That's what we've achieved in the first 5 months of this administration. That and a new, secret, scary, adults-only budget. So what's in the budget, ladies and gentlemen? Well, the headline figure, the headline fact, if you like, is that the budget calls for an increase in your taxes of 12%. 11.9% to be accurate. That's approximately $2.4 million of increased taxation, 11.9%. Now, along with this budget came a budget message delivered by the town manager. A pithy message, I might say. 5 pages of serried text, tables, numbers, summaries, lists. In 5 pages, he was unable to bring himself to acknowledge that the budget represented a 12% increase in taxation. He did say, however, that he was confident of widespread support on account of his transparency in presenting the budget. Now, from where I stand, ladies and gentlemen, if you present a 12% tax increase as a 7.8% increase in expenditures, whilst that may be technically true, it is neither transparent, nor obvious, nor taxpayer friendly. It is an attempt to grab each and every one of you by the ankles, to hold you upside down, and to shake you until every penny, nickel, dime, and quarter tumbles out. And when they have done so, to let go and have you fall on your head. So what's in that 12% increase, ladies and gentlemen? What's in that $2.5 million of increased taxes? Well, the town manager and the mayor have described this as an infrastructure budget. They have said at length, our roads are in dire need of rebuilding. We have ignored them too long. We have been irresponsible. We have lacked the willpower to do the right thing. This is a budget to fix that. Sounds pretty encouraging, ladies and gentlemen. A budget to fix roads. $2.5 million of added road spending, except it isn't. If you look at the budget, ladies and gentlemen, the taxpayer dollars directed towards rebuilding roads is exactly $220,000. So the increase in the budget, the increase in your taxes, $2.4 million. The proportion of that directed towards road building, $220,000, less than 10%. So if it's not really an infrastructure budget, what is it? Again, town manager says it's a budget for schools. A budget that includes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of extra spending for schools. Let's be quite clear, ladies and gentlemen. The current year budget for schools, the appropriation from the town for schools in the current year, as agreed by the state of Connecticut, the town attorney, the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Education, is, and I give you the precise number, $19,958,149. $19,958,149. The allocation in the budget for the schools, $19,958,149. For those of you who are mathematically inclined, let's do the subtraction. $19,958,149 minus $19,958,149 equals 0. There is 0 increase in spending for the schools in this budget. School spending represents 0% of that 12% increase. Now, the schools did ask for more. They asked in total between Gilbert and Winchester schools for some $850,000 of extra money. Town manager said no. Town manager said no, you get nothing, while telling you that this is a school's budget. Interesting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. So what is in the 12% increase? What is in that $2.4 million of increased taxes you are being asked to pay? The bulk of it, more people, more benefits, new benefits. We all know that people costs, salaries, and in particular benefit costs are the drivers of most budget increases these days. So with that in mind, one might have expected a professional town manager to look to control people costs, benefit costs. Not so, apparently. This budget includes additional people. We need more supervisors, apparently, in the Department of Public Works. More people to do that infrastructure work that this budget is not actually going to pay for. We need to extend benefits from full-time workers to selected part-time workers. But only selected part-time workers, ladies and gentlemen, not all part-time workers, presumably not those who are too Polish or too old or somehow otherwise something too discriminatory to receive benefits. We need to control pay, people, and benefits. This budget doesn't do it. What else is in this budget? What else is in this 12%, this $2.4 million, ladies and gentlemen? Consultants, expensive experts. Instead of having people in-house do the work, this budget includes the provision of experts not to replace people on the payroll, but to supplement people on the payroll. Planning and zoning apparently needs $50,000 worth of consultants to write the planning and zoning regs. I don't know what planning and zoning does if it doesn't do planning and zoning regs. If there are individuals on the Planning and Zoning Commission who are incapable of doing planning and zoning, we should change them. We shouldn't spend $50,000 on other individuals to do planning and zoning. Likewise, the business function consultants. As we said, you, the voters, voted overwhelmingly in referendum to consolidate the two business functions, town and schools, under the town. The goal was twofold: to eliminate people costs, to streamline the process, and to ensure that there was one manager, one chief. Dale Martin, town manager, and Mayor Welcome have a new interpretation of what that vote meant. They think it means introducing a third set of people. We're going to have Henry running the town finances, the schools running the school finances, and then the schools are going to back up Henry. The schools who have done such a stellar job with their money, such a stellar job with the state and the auditors. We are actually going to pay the schools an extra $30,000 to help Henry with his sums. I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but I wasn't aware that Henry needed help with his sums. The fire department, ladies and gentlemen, the fire department gets $215,000 worth of bennies in this budget. Furnace, roof, windows, kitchen, resurfacing, new vehicle, and the ever-popular turnout gear. Now, it has become axiomatic with the fire department that not everyone shows up for an event. And it has become equally axiomatic that if they don't show up, they don't get their pension. Instead, that pension is redirected to those people who do show up in the fire department leadership. It is therefore somewhat paradoxical that each and every one of those firemen, those who don't show up, those who don't deserve a pension, do somehow deserve extra clothing. I don't get it, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't. Department of Public Works. In addition to new supervisors to supervise the work of public works that is not actually being paid for under this budget, it's $500,000 worth of new toys for public works. Is this really the time to be buying new lawnmowers? Additional trucks? Is this the time, ladies and gentlemen? Wouldn't you rather have dollars spent on roads? Perhaps schools? No, trucks and lawnmowers apparently is the flavor of the day. And finally, there's the fund balance. $200,000 for the fund balance. Now, those of you who know me, those of you who have watched this show, know I am in favor of putting money into the fund balance. This is a good thing, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very, very good thing. But I do take offense that a group of people who have just taken $735,000 out of the fund balance should choose to cost themselves, to drape themselves in the flag of financial prudence, of fiscal prudence, by putting $200,000 in. Let's go back to that math thing. Original fund balance minus $735,000 plus $200,000 equals a smaller fund balance. So $2.4 million of increases in your taxes, 12%. A little over $200,000 of that going to roads, zero of that going to schools, and the rest of it frittered away on all and sundry people, benefits, toys, goodies for friends and family. There are those of you out there who view me as intensely negative. You say, I complain a lot, I offer no constructive solutions. So let's take a minute to review what I think the selectmen might more constructively be thinking about in terms of a budget. I would start with closing a school building, with freeing up some $500,000 of otherwise wasted school dollars and using that to pay for the school programs that we would all like to see added to our curriculum. I would like to see that as the basis for a more thoroughgoing review, a rationalization of school staffing, and a thoroughgoing reform of benefits. Simply put, family benefits need to go. We can't afford them. If staff want them, they'll have to pay for them. We need to outsource Public Works. Public Works is a major employer. Public Works also has to satisfy a huge range of specialist tasks involving a range of specialist people and specialist equipment. A town of our size cannot afford to hire all of those specialists and all of that equipment. We need to outsource it to one or more people who can. Free up cash, operate more efficiently. We need to shrink the fire department, shrink the people, shrink the equipment, shrink the footprint. We are not a factory town with 4-story mills belching smoke. We do not have house fires or factory fires left, right, and center. We cannot afford the fire department that we have. That is not to say that we don't love them dearly. They, after all, put out fires in our homes. They rescue us when we crash our cars. They fish us out of the lakes. But we have to live within our means. I understand why budget after budget gives things to the firemen. There's 200 votes, which is why the police department typically gets less. They have 25 votes. So last year, the police department got 2 cars, free and clear. This year, they're being offered 2 cars under a lease plan. They have to keep paying for them for the next 3 to 5 years. We need to shrink benefits, payroll across municipal government, town and schools. We need to direct staff and commissions to handle their tasks in-house and not simply to go out and hire expensive consultants. And finally, to make all of that worthwhile, to make all of that pain and cutting back worthwhile, we need to put dollars into the fund balance and set aside dollars for investment in tax-producing, revenue-producing development. To be honest, ladies and gentlemen, fixing the median doesn't pay taxes. New school buildings don't pay taxes. Roads don't pay taxes. We need to set aside money that we can entice developers to town with, to co-invest, to lend, to make the situation more attractive, to bring in investment that will pay taxes, that will provide the cash flow to reinvest in our fire department and our police department and our public works department and our schools and our roads. A reasonable budget, in my estimation, is on the operating side flat, with the understanding that there is plenty of money both on the town side and the school side to save money and pay for reinvestment. The only increase, 1 to 2%, should be for money to be set aside for the fund balance and for future reinvestment in the town. If you have a view on this, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, there are public hearings associated with the budget. The first has come and gone. Mayor Welcome didn't exactly advertise that. The second is tomorrow, March 29th, Gilbert School, 7 p.m. Again, a little bit under the radar screen. If you have a view, go to the Gilbert School, express your view, make yourself heard. We will spend the last couple of minutes of this evening's show on a couple of things that have come out of the schools recently. Now, some months ago, I was optimistic as to the direction of financial reporting in our schools. I said that things were getting better, that we were getting more information, better information, with the promise of more to come. Here we are, the end of March, beginning of April, and I am becoming impatient, perhaps even grumpy. There have been no financials posted to the website since 2011. The quality of information we are getting is not improved. This, you're not going to be able to see it at home. At least you're not going to be able to see the numbers. This is the last financial report provided by the schools to the selectmen. In it, most of the line items are reflected as being overspent versus budget. Yes, most of the line items are reflected as being overspent versus budget. When questioned as to that, the schools say, don't worry. The numbers aren't real. They're made up. They're spat out by a machine. The numbers aren't real. They don't make sense, they're spat out by a machine. That does not make me feel real good. I don't like numbers that are spat out machine. I particularly don't like a machine that spits out numbers above budget. At the top of this piece of paper, you'll see a sum, a total number that says we're $126,000 in the hole, above budget. At the bottom of the piece of paper, you'll see another number that says we're $172,000 in surplus. There's a third number, ladies and gentlemen. That's a number I get when I use my slide rule and my calculator and I scribble out sums in the back of an envelope. That number is a surplus of about $400,000. And the reason, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, that there are so many different sets of numbers is fuzzy math. It's fuzzy accounting on the subject of grants. If that sounds familiar, it should. Fuzzy accounting on the subject of grants is exactly what has got us into trouble with our 2009-10 audit and now our 2010-11 audit. The Board of Education has to insist that it stops. The Board of Finance has to insist that the Board of Education insists that it stops. And you, the public, have to insist that the Board of Finance insist, that the Board of Education insist that this stops. Second thing that's come out of the schools recently, this will be the last minute, is the Hinsdale School Improvement Plan. Again, you can't really see that on the TV, but here it is. This is the plan required by the No Child Left Behind rule in reflection of the fact that Hinsdale is not meeting its federal targets. It's a good plan. It says that we will adopt, in order to achieve better results, database teaching, cooperative teacher meetings and sort of partnerships, greater involvement of community, greater involvement of parents. It sets out measurable goals, a 15% per annum increase in test scores for reading and a 5% increase in math. It all sounds good. Real concrete plans, real concrete goals. It was approved in the Board of Education by everyone except myself. Because the snag in this plan, ladies and gentlemen, is it's not the first Hinsdale Improvement Plan. We've had a Hinsdale Improvement Plan for the last 2 years. It too stressed database teaching, cooperative ventures amongst teachers, outside training, parent involvement. It too had concrete measurable goals. 10% reading and math. The improvement that we've actually achieved in reading and math in the last 2 years, in math, 3% over 2 years. In reading, depending how you do the numbers, anywhere between 5% and minus 1%. We just approved a plan that hasn't worked for the last 2 years, with no changes, simply by moving the goalposts to make it just a little bit easier to work this time around. So where are we, ladies and gentlemen? James DeVita wanted to spend $40 million in a new building without reading the report. The town manager wants you to pay a 12% tax increase without reading the budget. The school board wants to approve a school improvement plan without reading the plan. You deserve better, ladies and gentlemen. You deserve to know what's in the plan. You deserve a plan that makes sense. You deserve a government that works, a budget that works, a school board that works. A government, a budget, and a school board that work openly and transparently, that tell you where your money is going and what it is buying. You deserve a government that is effective and efficient and affordable and accountable. And if you insist upon that, if you insist upon it loudly, if you go to the meeting at Gilbert on March 29, if you go to the Board of Selectmen meetings, if you insist that the press provide a balanced picture, over time, that's what you will get. If you continue to look over government's shoulder, government will begin to do the right thing. Until then, you will have government by the few, for the few, in spite or at the expense of the many. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. And remember, Gilbert School, 7 p.m. Thursday, March 29th, last public hearing on the subject of the budget.